This is Breakfast Daily on Citi TV. Thank you so much for staying with us. Now, it's a Thursday, so we're going to be discussing taxes, right? And throughout the conversation, if you have any questions for our guests, let us know with the hashtag Breakfast Daily and the WhatsApp line 0550 585-832. I have been joined by Leonard Shang-Quartey, who's the coordinator of Tax Justice Coalition, and Dr. Ampaabeng, who is a fiscal policy specialist at Oxam. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
How are you both?
Very well.
You're good.
Thank you for being here. Now, yesterday we received an update on the communication service tax. Can you give us some clarity on exactly what we should expect come November 26th?
Yes. Yeah. At least, let me put that word, that for some time you've got key stakeholders working or talking to each other, which to me should have been the very first thing.
Okay.
Because this is a tax that had a huge complication in terms of the tax laws was not clear on how the payment should have been, how the telco should pass it on, and whether it's upfront or not, because of that VAT element in it. So the conversation should have been, what do we do from the very onset? These stakeholders should have sat down to talk. It didn't happen. Finally, we got that yesterday. It's kind of, I don't know how you want to decorate it and present it differently. But the reality is that from 26, we should expect price increase.
From the 9% we are currently
From the
paying?
9%, yes.
How so?
Well, you remember beginning, the telcos were absorbing this.
Yes, they were absorbing the 6%.
Yes, since this tax was introduced back 2008 all to date, they were absorbing. Even when 2013, after the court case, they still absorbed the 6%. Now the decision is not to absorb anymore, and they are going to pass it on, sadly for the customer. Government was against the upfront deduction, which was right, because it is a consumption-based tax. So therefore, you only pay the tax when you use it. If I put 10 cedi on my credit, there's not. Now,
if you pay up front or you pay later.
Now there's no difference. And then the sad part is that the statement on paragraph 3 of the statement is saying...
okay, should I read the paragraph 3? Okay, so it says, however, we understand stakeholders' concerns and have aligned on the current agreement to implement a price increase to pass on the tax instead of the upfront deduction. What does that mean?
So there's no difference. In other words, initially, we used to see the price before the deduction before we even use it.
So if you pay 10 cedis, they'll send you a message that said we've deducted like 90, is it 10 pesos, 90 pesos?
Exactly, whatever it was. Now, what's going to happen is that you're going to have an increase in prices instead. So, again, it comes back to how are they going to do it? Are they going to adjust the bundle, how fast your credit should go? Or they are going to say, okay, if 2 gig was 10 cedi, now you want you to pay 11 cedi. I don't know how it's going to be. But whichever way, we are going to pay more for communication products compared to what you were having before.
Okay, Leonard, should we be happy at all by this update or just be indifferent?
I think they've not touched the substance of the concerns of the of Ghanaians. And what they've done is repackaging, and I don't think that was what the demand was for. It is not clear how they are going to implement this. But then what is clear is that government is not taking away the increment, that is withdrawing the increment, and we are also not sure whether the telcos will be absorbing the increment. At least they've taken a stance that they are not going to do that this time. So this agreement doesn't actually address the real concern and the concern expressed by government, which was the added burden on the citizenry. So any real solution will rather look at taking back the increment. Since government cannot persuade the telcos to absorb. So I think we have to wait and see how they're going to implement this agreement. But we still call on government to reconsider that increment.
So we're right back to square one then.
Back to square one. And I mean, The sad part of it, you remember we were talking about this last few weeks when you were saying that the GRA under the Revenue Administration Act 100 should have come out clearly with a practice note on how this tax should have been computed. And I remember you were saying these guys are doing it for administrative convenience. And if you read on the statement, it said even now they are still paying the GRA on upfront deductions. So GRA are happy, unquote, that the telcos were taking the upfront deductions. And I remember, therefore, the silence. If you read the statement, that's what they're saying.
So that's why we've not been hearing from GRA in
Exactly,
all this.
because they should be being clear. Because, you know, the challenge, if I go back quickly, the challenge was that the CST is a consumption-based tax. So if I put 10 Citi on my phone, until I start making calls,
GRA won't
you
get
cannot
any money.
charge any tax on it. However, if I buy a scratch card, VAT is due. VAT is at the point of supply. Now, you cannot also pay the VAT without calculating the element of the VAT in the CST.
Yeah.
So were you getting the complications? So for administrative convenience, what this guy did was, okay, the moment you buy the credit, CST is due because VAT has to be calculated anyway. And VAT is the final tax. After NHIL, after Get Fund, CST, then you have VAT. So they couldn't leave that CST out and call it as a consumption-based tax. So you buy upfront, put everything together, calculate and give to GRA. And GRA was very happy and comfortable with it from the statement. So therefore, we are where you are.
So speaking of administrative convenience, let's talk about tax administration efficiency, especially within the context of domestic revenue mobilization. What exactly is administrative efficiency?
Basically, I think anytime we talk about efficiency, we're talking about how you can get more with less. So how much effort are you expending and how much are you deriving from that? So the same applies to tax administration efficiency. How much are we putting in and how much are we getting? So you're looking at the responsiveness of the tax administration system to the challenges around itself and how it proposed to solve those challenges. So the first question is, have they identified the problems rightly? I mean, one of the biggest challenges we have as a country is the limited tax net and how we will be able to draw in the informal sector. So if you're looking at tax efficient administration in Ghana, you'll be looking at how the tax administrators over time have been targeting and responding to this particular problem. That's an example. And we're also looking at their capacity development, because their capacity development and their human resource deployment will also be informed by this challenge that they want to address. So over time, I think our measurement for their efficiency has been the amount of money they are able to, so that's the volume.
Which is wrong.
At least that's what's reported, the amount of money that are reported.
The volume that they are able, and which at times is set by themselves. And but then I think now we have to demand that we also look at how they are able to widen. How we are able to widen the net. Because if we are not able to widen the net and the economy or the GDP is not growing as expected, are you saying most of their challenges could be blurred or be obscured when the economy is doing well? Because if the economy, the GDP is growing, then you realize that there's already more money in the system, so you have less of deliberate attempts like the CST to rake in more. But when the economy is not growing as expected, like you said, just issued a report where we were not able to meet the expected GDP growth estimates, then they become exposed. I mean, the inefficiencies in there become exposed, and things like the CST and how they've been able to respond to it and how it's been managed all come out. So I think we, as citizens, we can tell whether they are being efficient or not, looking at how they've been able to respond to our greatest challenge in terms of taxation, dealing with the informal sector. I mean, they are making some attempts. I mean, they've seen technology as one instrument that could be used to mediate this particular challenge or problem. But then we are yet to see more about its deployment. They have their ITAPs now, but its implementation or full implementation is dragging, and I think they have to try and then bring that up.
Okay, Doc, what does the inefficiencies of the administrator, does it have any influence on high cost of taxes?
Absolutely.
How?
Okay. First, to add up to Leo, the efficiency, and he's perfectly right. We can't measure efficiency by how much you collect.
Why not? If I'm doing a job, you can measure my efficiency by my output, right? And if whatever I collect is my output, that makes sense.
It might be for now, but in the long term, are we building a sustained structures to have a secured revenue coming in? Because what we are looking at now is that, okay, people are given targets, perhaps it's linked to bonuses or promotions. So people will go all out to get that. But in doing that, do we have the structures in place? Do we have, for example, if you want to apply for tax returns, you know how long it will take you. Meanwhile, it's your tax, you've overpaid, you're claiming returns.
Getting it back.
It's automatically like you're seeking for something impossible. Can we go online, comfortably sit down and apply for even a TIN number or file for your tax returns? Can you use the online system? Do we know who are even the taxpayers? How many of them, apart from the few on PAYE and companies, the self-employed, those within the informal sector? What are we doing to capture them in? We have economy that is, studies are suggesting we have between 60 to 80% of economic activities carried on in the informal sector. This is huge. So imagine if administratively we can be efficient and rope all these guys in, have a solid database that can account for every particular taxpayer. The taxpayer can log into their tax account, be able to see how much taxes they've paid, be able to see whether they overpay or underpay. These are the administrative efficiencies we are looking for. It's 2019, Dziffa. And for 2019, things have to be different. And the usual excuse is, we are not there yet. When do we want to be there? How old is Ghana? So we go to the point where we need to be serious. I was making an example with Georgia. Georgia had independence in the 90s from Russia. They went through the same reform GRA has been doing for so many years. Within 2 years of the reform, they fully financed their national budget. Why? Because that willingness across board was there. There was no NDC, there was no MPP, there was no CPP, there was no KKK and YYYs. What it was a national interest we are fighting for collectively. 2 years, they fully financed their budget. We had independence in 57. They had their own in the 90s.
Wow.
But we keep saying we are not there yet. When are we going to be there? We have the internet here, we have the facilities, we have the technology, we have the men and the women. So what do we mean by we are not there yet? It's the political will to push for some of those hard reforms. Now, why administrative efficiency can lead to inefficiency could lead to tax increment is that until we start having a very robust and sound tax administrative system, our tax rates will continuously keep rising.
Why?
And I know it's sad for people to hear this. One, remember you have targets. I just met the finance minister on my way here this morning, downstairs. He's actually with Ben now. And one of the first things when he sat down, they were talking about the revenue shortfall of this year of 5 billion. Now, what does that mean? Government has to find any means possible to provide for that budget shortfall. What that means, we have very few people paying the taxes because we cannot capture the right people who are the informal sector, big guys down there. What it means, the government has to find any way to increase the tax burden on the few who are paying. Look, you only earn 288 Ghana Citi as tax-free amount, and you start paying taxes.
Oh, wow.
How much is that in dollars or in pounds?
Like 50.
You get it?
$50.
That is
less than $50.
Yeah, less than $50, and you're already paying taxes. That is the tax-free amount. How many countries are doing that? Why? Because we cannot tax the right activities and bring lots of people in. If we could bring lots of people in, we have wide tax net and tax base, then more people are contributing. Therefore, our minimum tax band could easily be 1,000 or 1,500, which to me could have provided a realistic living income for somebody. So indirect tax keep rising. Why? Because we don't have much options. Yeah. Typical example is the CST. CST will rise. We saw the VAT, we split the VAT. Why? Because government needed more money. Yeah. So now we have NHI and Get Fund as a straight line levy, which was a smart move by the government, but it impacts on businesses because business can no longer claim that. They end up paying more on business, on cost of doing business, therefore pass on to the consumers. So indirect tax will keep rising, PAYE will keep rising, VAT obviously is part of the indirect taxes, will keep rising because we don't have options. But if you could have a robust or sound tax administration where we have taxpayer databases, you know who you are, where you are, activity you do, how much you pay, we can project how much tax revenue you have, and you won't be too far away from it. But now we've just been missing targets in here and there because we don't have the data to actually inform most of our discussions. Wow. We have just few data and then the rest, okay, let's assume the informal sector, you get X or Y from there. Yeah, how long? So the tax rate will keep rising because that government don't have choices. On the few who are paying, you should keep paying more. You should expect the taxes to be going up as years to come. You should expect indirect taxes to come. Budget is due in 2 weeks. I'm looking forward to see possibly a new tax.
Hopefully not. Leo, administratively, have you seen any improvements in the sector that we can credit GRA for?
I think I mentioned the identification of IT or digitization as a way to dealing with the informal sector. And I think some in the donor community are also supporting that effort. But and it's a good attempt on their part. And dwelling on the positive, I think they have to go at it because with that digitization, some of the issues that Doc raised, I mean, the ease with which citizens can assess and
tax returns,
file their tax returns, the ease with which even the GRA can identify and then have data on the tax-paying population, and even for their assessments, because that's a major problem that they have. So I think it's a positive effort on their part, and we would like to see more about that. The problem with some of these donor-supported projects is that as soon as the donor step back, then there is a stalemate. I think it's important for the GRA to own this particular idea and see it as one of the tools that can help it be more efficient, be more efficient and achieve more. And it will be to their credit. Sure. And just as it will also help the population. Like Doc mentioned, you have only a few caught up in the net being squeezed.
They were just being squeezed
and being boiled over and over again. We need an expansion of that net so that we can have more people coming in to shoulder the burden of aiding our development.
Awesome.
And I think that's something that we are keeping an eye on and will be working with the GRA, hedging them, encouraging them to bring it to fruition.
Awesome. So, Leo, you've mentioned the positives of how far GRA has come administratively. Doc, room for growth. How do we ensure that we are getting enough revenue domestically so that we don't keep taxing the few people who are already squeezed?
Well, down to number one target should be improving administratively, which we are talking about administrative efficiency. reduce all those bottlenecks. Ease of tax payment should be easy. I mean, it shouldn't be that hectic.
To pay your taxes.
Yeah, I remember last time saying here, like, tax is like, and then you have to still go through this hectic time to pay.
You might as well not even
You might as well not have to pay. So, and we need to do things differently. You know, we are very much fond of bringing in other ideas without really looking at our environment.
Yeah.
We all saw the luxury vehicle tax as an example, out of nowhere, boom, because why? UK or other countries, Australia and co were doing it. How did we understand that in our context?
Yeah.
We have informal sector, huge. We still want money from there. We all want these guys to stop their work and come all the way to GRA offices.
Yeah.
These are some of the inefficiencies we are talking about. Can we start having the tax kiosks or a way of bringing the tax closer to the people? If I'm a mechanic, I've been working the whole day, my body is full of oil, I'm dirty clothes. How do I comfortably sit in a taxi, come all the way to GRA office in that air condition and come and pay my taxes?
Yeah.
Are you getting it? There's that big gap. People don't feel the system is right for them.
Yeah.
So can we have a type of tax environment where we bring the tax to the market women? So you have a joint. If it's Makola, small tax kiosk there. Abosiokai, small tax kiosk there. So these guys don't have to close their shops and come all the way.
Yeah.
Create an environment
kind of the way
where
the savings and loans companies
exactly
meet
see
them
how
where
efficient they are. Create an environment that they feel closer to, they can relate to that particular tax authority sitting down, a person sitting down. We also need to make sure you keep corruption. You keep hearing corrupt cases. Look, people are not going to be incentivized to pay if they know that the money they are paying is going down the drain. We want to also make sure that GRA is GRA. They are civil service institution with a minimal political influence. But when you keep altering the structures and creating jobs for the boys, bringing in people occupying senior tax position roles, when they have no idea what that role is, how do we get the revenue?
Yeah.
There are some areas you don't have to temper there when it goes to job for the boys. You can create job for the boys in other areas, but certain critical areas, job for the boys shouldn't go there. Political interference should be minimized. Let the GRA work as a civil service institution. Let the law work. If somebody is caught up with corruption or embezzling state funds or involved in some corrupt cases within the GRA, let the system work. Somebody is engaged in tax evasion. Recently, I heard of 2 Chinese nationals arrested in a company for falsifying VAT invoices. What are we going to do? It might be in the news. We'll be lucky if something gets done. Can we punish them openly?
Instead of an example.
Exactly. And not just the Chinese company. There are Ghanaian companies, there are Nigerian companies, all scattered in the country doing the same thing. Can we punish them openly? Bring them to the media. Let the people feel it that if you go control, this is what happens. Bring confidence in the system. Finally, when it gets to the issue of taxation, it's complex. Can we start breaking it down, especially to the informal sector? I remember we did this project going around. People don't even know what on how they are being taxed. Can we communicate to them that if you own this shop, this is how much you should pay, this is the reason, these are the parameters. If you doubt, come to the shop to challenge it. Create the environment for people to feel closer. Don't take the tax away too much from people. I mean, there are lots of points, but I think to me, these are the few I can hit on. And again, make sure the tax revenue is put to very, very good use. People want to see before they pay.
Awesome. So now let's talk about the practical side. Tax Justice Coalition and Oxfam Tax Dialogue has a project coming up. Can you tell us a bit about it, Leo?
Yes, that's the public forum we'll be holding, because now we want to take the dialogue out there nationally. So we'll be holding 3 public forums in the 3 zones of the country. So 5th November, we will be in Temale.
That's next week.
Yes, we will be in Temale at Modern City Hotel, where we will be looking at, we'll be addressing together, because there are a lot of solutions out there, how we can deal with the loopholes in our tax administration laws and regulations so that we can improve on tax compliance and responsibility. And so 7th, we will be at Citi Hotel in Kumasi. And then on the 12th of November, we will be at Hillcrest Hotel in Takoradi, and invitation is open to the general public to join, because we believe that there are solutions out there, and in the different parts of the countries there are some unique perspectives and ideas that we can all bring about to improve the situation that we have.
Okay, so let's talk a bit about the theme that you're looking at on your screens there. It says,
yes, addressing
policy challenges and regulatory loopholes to improve tax compliance in Ghana. What informed that theme?
Yeah, and basically that's the theme that we've been having these discussions, the tax dialogue discussions over the period that we've been here with you. So now we want to seek some more perspectives on this, and like I mentioned earlier, the different perspectives and ideas that might come up from the regions, because we are not only looking at national level revenue mobilization, we're also looking at local level revenue mobilization. So we are interested in what people have seen.
So who should attend this? What kind of person is it? Students, market women?
Basically, it's open to the business community. It's open to civil society organizations, community-based organizations. Yes, students can also attend. This is basically a citizens affair, and it's free. We want to hear from the public, because we hope to sum up the various views that will come up into a report that will be used for our advocacy, and then share some of the critical concerns with the Ministry of Finance and the tax administration stakeholders nationally. Okay,
so the 5th is Tamale, the 7th is Kumasi, and the 12th is Takoradi. Okay. Will you have translators for people who are looking at us now speaking big English, and you're like, am I going to go there and these people are going to speak their big English to me? Or would it be relevant? Because every week we talk about making sure we don't have a one-size-fits-all approach where we are engaging people. How will this be different? And Doc is laughing.
We didn't provide for this, but now that you've mentioned it, I think we will take a serious look at that and then address that challenge.
Okay. Doc, wrap up everything we've discussed today.
Yes, I'm very happy how far we've come, especially the tax dialogue and the direction and approach you're trying to take now, getting the views of the general public on. The appeal to the authorities is that what we are doing, sometimes it might be so hard on the GRA and the government and the ministries, not because we just want to feel, we just want to talk anyhow. But we believe that Ghana has enough to organize resources domestically to finance our development. Administratively, GRA is doing a very good job. But there are lots of things we can do. And I know sometimes their hands are tight because of political interference. And that's the appeal I've been putting forward. I'm looking forward for the day when the GRA Commissioner General will be elected by the various commissioners in the region, rather than a political party appointing. That to me will be wonderful, because now we have 16 regions. Let the 16 directors or whoever they are come back, elect somebody as the Commissioner General. He is accountable to them, less so for the government in power, and therefore be willing to serve whoever comes on. So together we can do more. Administratively, there are lots of things we can do, but please tackle corruption and make sure that the revenue you use, especially for the informal sector, is earmarked. That if you collect 20 cedi from Makola Market, at least you use 5 cedi to develop Makola Market. Not that we take everything anyway. People don't see, they won't pay. The informal sector, people want to see. The only way around this is revenue earmarking. Leave some where you collect it, develop the market, make sure the roads are clean, the lighting system is good, and when you come back to collect, they won't say no.
Okay. Leo?
Yes, so we're hoping that these discussions will at least edge on the GRA. It is not to discourage them, but we are partners in development. Absolutely. And we are happy that they are also showing some signs of trying to improve the situation. I mean, I remember the DEBA that they had, I think, 2 months ago, and you could see the frustrations on the part of some of the officers, particularly with the issue of political interference. And they also wanting to meet their targets, and you have exemptions here, exemptions there. So I think together, in this public conversation and dialogue, we should see some positive results.
Awesome. And is there a number or a social media handle that people can follow for the events that are coming up in
the Ghana Tax Dialogue,
Kumasi, and
the Ghana Tax Dialogue? That's our Twitter handle.
Okay, so they can get more information about exactly what is happening, what time, and everything else, or with that social media handle. Thank you very much. Leonard Shang-Quartey is a coordinator of Tax Justice Coalition, and of course, Dr. Alice Ampaabeng is a fiscal policy specialist at Oxfam Ghana. It's always a pleasure to have you both with us.
Thank you.
I look forward to listening to what you learned from the engagement with people.
We'll be sharing.
Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed this video.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Citi Tube,
for exclusive breakfast daily content and other Citi TV programs.
like, comment, and share with your friends.